Thanks, Carly. We're so excited to be here today. My name is Reyna Askew, and I'm here with presenting on BMP inspections, harnessing volunteer power. Today, we're going to go over just a quick preview. We're going to talk about the RiverSmart Homes program, a little bit about Watershed Stewards Academy, how we found shared goals and objectives to work together, a little bit about our pilot program that we worked on over the past couple of years, and a couple of the successes, pitfalls, and suggestions that we have for improvement in the future.
Thanks, Reyna. To get started, I'm going to talk a little bit about stormwater because stormwater is really the why of the issue. It's the reason that we have the RiverSmart Homes program. It's one of the main reasons that we have the WSA program, the Watershed Stewards Academy program, and it's one of the biggest issues that waterways in the district face. It's one of the biggest sources of pollution. So what is stormwater? When rain hits any hard surface like your roof or your sidewalk or pavement, it runs downhill towards the storm drains. As it does that, it picks up all sorts of pollutants that eventually end up into our rivers. And so that polluted water is getting into the Anacostia, the Rock Creek, and the Potomac. The other issue is that there's a huge quantity of stormwater flowing into those storm drains in the district and through our stream beds. And so that large quantity of water is actually eroding our stream beds, causing sedimentation to flow downstream, oftentimes toppling trees due to erosion and degrading aquatic habitat. So we've got this quantity and quality issue related to stormwater.
All right, so what can we do about all of this stormwater? As we know that pollution coming into us, at AWS, our focus is the Anacostia River, but obviously thinking about all the rivers in the district, we need to reduce this volume of stormwater runoff. We can't control the rainfall that's going to fall. We know that, especially with climate change, we're going to continue to have these intense storm events. What we can do is try to decrease the impervious surface area and increase the infiltration and percolation of water through low impalement, or what we're also going to call BMPs, or stormwater BMPs.
Thanks. So the goal of the RiverSmart Homes program is to clean DC's waterways. And how do we do that? We do it by reducing the volume of stormwater runoff by installing best management practices, or BMPs. We also have this goal of preventing erosion and recharging groundwater. RiverSmart Homes also increases native habitat and promotes conservation across the district, as well as educating district residents and homeowners about managing stormwater, about the issue of stormwater, and how they can be part of the solution. The program is completely voluntary. So homeowners or residents sign up for the program, then somebody from district government actually comes out to their property to conduct a stormwater audit. This is where we let homeowners know which of our best management practices they can have installed on their property. Rain barrels, shade trees, rain gardens, basescapes, and permeable pavers are the best management practices that we offer. After that, a homeowner they receive a report and they decide which of those projects they want installed on their property. They then work with our nonprofit partner to have those projects installed, and it's then up to them to maintain those projects. So right at that first step when they sign up, they actually agree to maintaining those projects in perpetuity. And so it's really up to them to make sure that after the district makes this investment, this financial and this time investment into their property, that they continue to maintain that rain barrel or that shade tree so that it's actually doing the stormwater management work that it's meant to do. And just a little bit about the scale of the program. You can see this map on the right actually shows all of the projects that we've installed across the district. And you can see we've put in about 400 rain barrels a year. We install about 700 shade trees, 250 basecapes, 140 rain gardens, 9 permeable paver projects. And there's about 1,100 audits per year and 1,300 applicants per year. And so the reason I just like to present this information is to show you just how many projects are going into the ground. The program's been around since 2008, so it's been, we've been doing this for a number of years. And in addition to, like I mentioned, the district's investment in this program, both financial and time investment, these best management practices count towards the district's goals of cleaning the rivers, counts towards our MS4 permitting goals, and counts towards our Chesapeake Bay program agreement goals. And so making sure that these projects are in good working order and are functioning properly is not just something that the district is interested in. It's not just something that the homeowner is interested in, but it's something that the entire Chesapeake Bay should be interested in because of our commitments to the Bay program.
Thanks, Arielle. So we are, so at Anacostia Watershed Society, I am working very closely with our Watershed Stewards Academy. So that is a program where we are facilitating stormwater solutions by working with engaged residents in our community. So they are getting training about stormwater, about these issues, and they are becoming advocates for stormwater in their neighborhoods, in their communities. The Watershed Stewards Academy, or WSA, equips community leaders with resources, tools, and knowledge to serve as the point person in their community on watershed issues and solutions. So for this particular program, we're doing a 10-session course that right now is functioning as a hybrid with about 6 virtual and 4 in-person classes, after which they would complete a capstone project in their own neighborhood with members of the community. Some of the idea here is that after participating in these class sessions, they're going to have the knowledge to be able to tackle some stormwater issues in their community. We're helping them to understand things such as what are watersheds, what is the water cycle, with a special emphasis on the Chesapeake Bay, Potomac, and Anacostia watersheds, and helping them to understand what are threats to local waters, with an emphasis on polluted runoff. We also help them to understand how to identify and implement solutions to polluted runoff, as well as other sources of pollution, and help to build community around local water issues. Through working in the Watershed Stewards Academy, they should complete a capstone project in their class, either as an individual on their own or as part of a small group to help control polluted runoff. So one of the major issues that we have sometimes in implementing this program is that stewards, as they're finishing their class session or their course part of the program, struggle to find a really useful way to use their skills. So sometimes they struggle to figure out what's a project in their community where they could act, where they could contribute, where they can use their knowledge of stormwater and green infrastructure in order to improve runoff or stormwater issues. So together, we were able to come up with some ideas of issues that we were having and finding sort of a shared ground or common ground between the two. DOE is providing this very popular RiverSmart program that has had that has a lot of audits and inspections to complete every year. So Arielle's already talked about how they have so many audits to complete every year in order to get people their new projects. And because they're spending so much time on those audits, they didn't have enough time to go back to each of those projects to inspect them the previous projects that were installed to see if they're still in working order, if they need to be maintained, if they need to be serviced. And the watershed stewards who were struggling to find capstone projects, we thought that this might be the perfect way to bring these two programs together, because Watershed Stewards Academy participants would be able to, for their capstone, complete some of these inspections and help to relieve some of that inspection burden and help us to get more knowledge about the program. We also, just our organizations in general, are working towards really shared goals and shared objectives of what we want to see in our community. We both want cleaner air, swimmable and fishable. We both understand the need to increase green infrastructure in order to decrease our stormwater pollution issue. And we both want to see residents of our community engaged in protecting the environment.
And so, given this understanding of the RiverSmart Homes program and the Watershed Stewards Academy program, and kind of where the two overlap, we came up with this idea for implementing an inspections program where we used the trained WSA volunteers to help RiverSmart Homes, the Department of Energy and Environment, inspect the best management practices that had been in the ground for a while. And so this idea came to fruition probably about 2 years ago, and it took about 2 years to really get it off the ground. And so after the inception, it took a little bit of time to get all of the internal pieces in place. So talking to our Office of General Counsel, making sure that we were setting up a program that was useful for both parties involved and for the volunteers, that it was engaging enough, that it utilized their skills, their newfound skill set. And so we put all the pieces together internally, and we built out a structure that really integrated the training into this RiverSmart Homes inspections training into the WSA's curriculum. And the way that we did that is kind of threefold. We had these 3 different trainings that got that built upon each other. And the first training was a general RiverSmart Homes information session. It was for all of the WSA volunteers. We did an hour-long training with them about what the program is, what BMPs we offer through the program, how the process works, some information about how many people are involved in the program and that kind of thing. Then those volunteers that were really interested in the RiverSmart Homes program and wanted to do a little bit more and wanted to be part of this organized capstone project were elected to participate in another online training that really dove deep into each of our best management practices and how to maintain them. So this is where we were talking about things like how to remove the filter from a rain barrel and clean it out, or how to measure how much mulch is in a rain garden, or how to measure how big the rain garden is, or look for the outlet in it. And so we're really digging into the specifics of each best management practice, what they should look like, and how to do the inspections. And so this also, a big part of this training was looking at our technology. So the Department of Energy and Environment actually tracks all of the best management practices or green infrastructure that we install across the district. And we really wanted to use that same system to track our inspections as well. Now, that's great from a data continuity point of view, but from the point of view, from a user interface point of view, it wasn't quite as advantageous. And so this is a clunkier system. It's a little bit older, and it's not meant for volunteers to use. We kind of had to finagle some things to make it possible for our volunteers to use, and that was some of the setup, was actually getting the technology in place. And I want to be very clear about this, like, we hadn't done this process in the past. This was all brand new. So our inspections using this database was brand new for us at DOEE, and it was brand new for our volunteers. This was very much a pilot year, very much an experimentation and innovation year. And with anything like that, we definitely saw some hiccups related to the technology piece, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the future, or a little bit more later. But this online training, I do want to emphasize the fact that a lot of it was how to use the system, and a lot of it was about safety, right? We're having folks go out into the community, and we want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and safe as they're on site. And then the last piece was actually doing this in person together. So we had a field day where we went out to a homeowner's property and we looked at a number of different projects that were installed on the property. We had everybody bring out their own device, sign on to our system, and actually conduct the inspections together. So we really tried to work through all of the kinks and work through everybody's questions that they might have while we were all out in the field together. And then we provided a list of inspection sites to homeowners, or to volunteers. We reached out to the homeowners and let them know that there were WSA volunteers that would be coming out to their property. And then it was up to the volunteers to complete their 20 inspections.
Thanks. So we realized that there were so many successes and also issues that we encountered in this pilot year. So we were very excited to be able to bring together WSA participants to practice and share these new experiences together. It was another great benefit that they were able to get this specialized training in how to do BMP inspections. Additionally, it created a pathway for ongoing engagement and volunteerism, that once they were trained, they could kind of go out on their own and do as many inspections as they would like in order to stay engaged. And it created this additional capacity for DOEE to complete inspections. Some of the ways that we found that there were some pitfalls or some things to watch out for. As we were doing this, as has already been stated, we were sort of building this training program and figuring out the kinks in the system as we were implementing in this pilot year. So we did have some chunks of waiting periods in between the initial trainings that we did, the online training and the in-person training, and then the time when they were actually out doing inspections on their own, which created some time for learning loss or for volunteers to forget how to use the system, where if we had more of a contracted timeline or more practice sessions, that might have been different. Additionally, just difficulty of creating procedures for a new program, or the time it takes to sort of write the ideas behind a new structure. I think that took some time in our process. Obviously, you know, as things worked out, as you work, things can, you know, be improved upon over time, and challenges with integrating a new technology. So it was the first time that this technology, that the database was being used for inspections, and it was very new for it to be open to the public, for it to be open to volunteers to use for inspections. So that also allowed another way for us to sort of figure out some kinks in the system. Additionally, there is a huge time investment involved in preparing volunteers to be able to do independent work. So, in improving for the future.
Yeah, so we had a really fantastic first year. We enjoyed working together. We enjoyed working with the WSA volunteers, and we just wanted to talk a little bit about ways that we thought we could improve on our particular program in the future, and if there are other jurisdictions that were interested in creating this partnership across nonprofits and government agencies, that these might be good things to look out for. So first and foremost, having a procedure, drafting a procedure and getting all the necessary approvals before rolling out the program. As Reyna mentioned earlier, we were trying to build the ship as we flew it, right, as they say. So we were trying to put these pieces together during the WSA's session when they were kind of part of the program. And so I think if we had done a little bit of more planning up front and really put together, like Reyna said, a more condensed training program, had all of our technology in place, had all of our approvals in place through our Office of General Counsel beforehand, it would have made for a much smoother rollout. Yeah, and also planning out the training schedule and reducing those large time gaps between in-person and virtual training dates. As we mentioned, that was it was an issue for the volunteers in retaining the information, and it just made it feel a little more disjointed.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think that, for some of the volunteers, they probably could have used either more instruction or more practice using the database before going out into the field, because there were some volunteers still struggling with the database when we were in our field session. So for, having either more time built into our calendar for more practice days, or allowing for more individualized practice as the volunteers need. Additionally, it would be great to have to think about a more user-friendly technology if you're thinking about how to get the public involved in a process like this. Thinking about how the public might interface with that data, with that database, is important in your process as you're rolling this out.
And we mentioned this before, having more dedicated staff time to managing volunteers is key. And really, this is just something that we didn't think about from the Department of Energy and Environment's point of view. We kind of saw this awesome opportunity to have an extension, right? Essentially free labor, great. We have these folks who are super excited about stormwater, super excited about helping out their community. And we basically thought, like, this is great. We have this task that we needed to get done. We can outsource that. But what we didn't realize, and probably should have, was that volunteers require a lot of time to manage, especially, like we said, when you're using a piece of technology that isn't super intuitive, when you're having folks go out into the field and onto private property. These are delicate pieces, and so from our point of view, if we had the time and the energy, or the time internally to actually dedicate to volunteer management, it would have made for a much smoother process. Essentially, as district governments, right, as district government employees, our constituents, our clientele, are homeowners. They are residents of the district who are participating in this program. And when we took on this volunteer program, we all of a sudden had these essentially two different sets of clientele that we're working with, right? We had our homeowners who we conduct audits for and serve to and install BMPs, but then we also had our volunteers who were helping us. They were helping us towards our goals. But we were also serving them, right? We're also answering questions and making sure that they had everything they needed to do the job to help us out. And then lastly, it would have been a really good idea, and this is maybe just basic project management, but if we had regular calls between our organizations to troubleshoot any issues that came up. along the way. And so, for example, if there were data collection issues, if we needed to remedy any training issues or explain things differently to volunteers, if we needed to, potentially pair newer volunteers or more experienced volunteers with more experienced volunteers so that they could shadow each other and be out in the field together and get comfortable with the technology and the process. So, some of those changes and those ideas and those updates could have happened had we set up these regular check-ins between the two organizations. And so if we were to do it in the future, we would make sure that that was in place, especially during a pilot year.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, for participating, and we would be happy to answer any questions. We feel that we've learned so much through piloting this program together and being able to see where our shared goals and shared objectives for wanting a cleaner river and wanting to engage our residents could come together. And I think that we've learned a lot through this process. And, as if we were able to implement, if we were going to move forward with this or a similar program in the future, we would want to take some of those lessons learned and implement them into future programs.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. That was probably fine.
It was almost exactly 30 minutes. 28 minutes.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so before we jump off, I just need to figure out, oh, whoops, stop recording.
Oh, please.